everybody, let's talk about this week's episode of Game of Thrones. This episode gave me the Game of Thrones syndrome feeling. I don't know, I just made that up. But it's basically that feeling that you have while watching Game of Thrones that brings you back to the Red Wedding, that makes you think of what happened to Ned Stark. It makes you think of when Sansa married Ramsay. Like that kind of a feeling. By the end of this episode, I was in full blown Game of Thrones syndrome feeling, and I was not here for it. Oh my goodness. Ugh. Just when I was getting a little comfortable, they reminded me this is Game of Thrones, and we don't care about your feelings. Okay. So, without skipping all the way to the end, let's just save Bran and the three-eyed raven for last. I'm going to talk about them last, okay? So, first let's talk about Sansa and John at the wall. So, in this episode, Sansa gets a letter from Littlefinger and he wants to meet up with her. So, Sansa takes Brienne with her and they meet up with Littlefinger. This conversation did not go the way Littlefinger was expecting it to go. He was all happy to see Sansa, and I guess he wanted a hug, and he thought it was going to be this, really great interaction. No, it was not that at all. Her first questions to him was basically, "Did you know how crazy Ramsay was?" I just have this feeling that you set me up. Like, she is not having it. She's not happy to see him. She wants to know, why did you willingly let me marry this monster? I think she said something along the lines of, you took me away from monsters who killed my family, only to hand me over to another monster who killed my family. Like, she was livid with him. She was like, you know what? Do you know what he did to me? Take a wild guess. Just guess what he did. You know. And Littlefinger's just looking like, oh, this is not going the way that I thought it was going to go. She was like, no, really, just take some wild guesses. What do you think he did to me? She told him that she still physically feels the pains of some of the things that he has did to her. And it was slowly breaking Littlefinger down because in my mind, he's he has this kind of crush on her. I think that when he looks at her, he sees her mother too. And he was in love with her, but you can tell that he genuinely feels sorry about everything that has happened to her. But she kind of goes in detail without going in detail. Basically she implied, rape. She implied physical harm, you know, um, just a lot of grotesque things. She even made references to, some of them hoes you used to run. They probably know all about some of the stuff that I went through. And just the fact that she said that she can still feel the things that he's done to her when she walks, y'all. Oh, so he felt bad about it and he apologized and he said that he underestimated a stranger. Like, he did a little research, but he didn't really go into real detail about who Ramsey really was. So he was like, that was my bad. And she's like, no, I paid a great price for that. But luckily, she was like, but I got Frito and I don't need your help. And he was telling her, look, you need to go see, your cousin Brendan, because he has an army and they're gonna get behind you and John and, help, fight Ramsey. But she was like, you know what? I don't need your advice. I'm good. I'm cool. I got away from Ramsey by myself. I got to the wall with Brienne, and I don't need you to protect me anymore. So she was just giving him the business. She was not happy. But, Littlefinger tells her that no matter what, he has her back. And he tells her about her little cousin who is, rallying people together to help her get Winterfell back. And she's just, I mean, she's listening, but she's really not trying to hear him. And she's kind of over it. And Littlefinger feels like crap. And he should. Strategically, it was kind of a good move, kind of, to marry Ramsay, but he didn't realize the full danger that she was in when he left her there. So later on in the episode, when Sansa and Davos and Brienne and John, they're all talking about their game plan. And Davos and Sansa kind of go back and forth about it. And he tells her, I may not know about the North, but I know men. And it was also brought up that even though John is, Ned's son, okay, that he doesn't carry the Stark name, but Sansa does. And she's like, well, I have the Stark name. So since the North remembers, they're going to get behind us because I'm the Stark that they're going to follow and help. And while they're exchanging information, Sansa tells John that she knows of, a couple of groups of people that are gathering together to rally behind them. And he asked her, well, how you know that? And she lies and says that she overheard them talking about it. And Brienne just kind of looks at her like, that's interesting. So after they talk and get their game plan together, Sansa and Brienne go off to a room and they're talking, and it's decided that Brienne is going to go to Riverrun to talk to Brendan and, get them on board. So when they're all getting ready to ride out, Sansa and John are talking, and he notices, her dress, and her dress has the wolf on it. And he told her, that's really nice. I like that you did that. And she said, but I made something for you too. So she hands him this. It's like a cloak or a coat or something, and on it, on the little banner, it has the wolf on it too. And she said, this is just like what Dad wore, and I made it for you. And he was very happy about that, and I thought that was really nice that she did that, and it made him feel good. Next, let's talk about Arya. So Arya has her sight back, and she's still sparring with, the hater. Now, the hater is a hater, but she is still beating the brakes off of Arya. I mean, she's just a really skilled fighter. She's a hater, but I can't take that from her. I'd be lying if I said that this girl cannot fight. She can definitely take some people out. Okay, she's more advanced than Arya is, and she makes sure that she lets Arya know every chance that she gets that she's better than her as far as fighting goes. So, she's basically dusting Arya. I mean, they even put the sticks down and, squared up. And she still was snubbing Arya. And so Jaqen H'ghar walks um, in the midst of Arya being almost knocked out. And he expresses the same thing that the hater was saying, are you really ready? I don't think that you're really ready for what you think you're ready for. But Arya's like, I'm here. I want to be down. And so he pulls her to the side and he hands her this little container of poison. And he tells her that her mission is to kill Lady Crane. And Lady Crane is an actress. And so Arya goes and she watches their performance. And y'all, this was so messed up. So this little acting group, they're basically playing out what happened, with Robert being killed by the boar, and Cersei and Joffrey and Ned, the story of what happened. And in their little parody, they make Ned look like he's clueless, like he's stupid. And Arya is just looking like, really? this is what we do. Even Sansa was in there, pleading for her dad's life. And, it was very hurtful for her to watch that because that's not how all that played out. But I understand that, they're an acting troupe and they have to try to find, comedy in some real life messed up stuff that was going on. And it just wasn't cool. I didn't particularly like that either, but she sat down and she watched it, whatever. So she goes backstage and she finds the woman who she's supposed to kill, and she notices that she likes to drink. So the plan for her is that she's going to poison her alcohol, and that's how she's going to kill her. So while she's telling her plan to Jack and Hagar, she starts asking questions like, who wants this lady killed? And she seems like an okay person, what's up? And, he kind of looks at her sideways and he's like, look, somebody's gonna die. Either you're gonna kill Lady Crane or I'm gonna kill you. Basically. Now he didn't just come out and say that, but he's like, somebody gonna have to give their life up. So you decide who it's gonna be. And he told her a servant doesn't ask questions. So he, was basically like, look, girl, you don't need to be asking all these questions about who, what, when, why. Just know when I tell you that somebody needs to die, you need to go on and kill them. He told her, I've given you this is your second chance, but you don't get a third, girl. So over in the Iron Kingdom, it's time for them to decide who's going to take claim to the throne. And of course, Theon's sister, she steps forward and she says, I should be the one who gets the throne. And you have some of the men there that are like, we've never had a queen. A woman has never held this position. A woman shouldn't do this. And they're against it. And all while, the men are really just going in about it. They say, and plus, why would we name you when your brother is here? It should go probably to your brother, not you. And Theon steps forward and he says, yes, I am, the boy or whatever, but my sister deserves it. She's been here, she's lived here, she has fought with all of you. She's been in the trenches with all of you. She's led some of you. So she deserves it more than me. He really rallies for her and he calls her a warrior. And he says, she's really iron born and y'all should get behind her and support her. Here comes his uncle, Euron. He makes a claim for the throne. And he said that his plan of action was to find Daenerys. Listen to how absurd this is. Find Daenerys, marry her, combine his army with hers so that they can go fight Cersei now. Get out of here. Look, Daenerys don't want you and she don't want your Liberty army. Like, what Daenerys gonna do with your little people? But I guess that sounded good to these iron-born people because they decided that Euron should be the one that leads them. So a part of his initiation is basically drowning him. They basically drown him. Because they worship this sea. And they pull him out of the water and they lay him on the rocks. And he basically had to resuscitate himself. I say he had to resuscitate himself. Okay? Nobody was giving him no CPR, no mouth to mouth, no chest compressions, like nothing. So I guess that's the omen, maybe, or something. I don't know. That if he can resuscitate himself, then their God has blessed him and he should be the rightful king of the people. But he did resuscitate himself, and honey, let me tell you something. I know his lungs was burning. And as soon as he comes to, he's like, where my niece and nephew at? And they look around, I don't know. I don't know where they at. And he's like, well, let's find them so we can kill them. See, But see, all while you trying to be grimy, all while you done killed they father, they dipped out, honey. They left. Smart. They are so smart. And they took all the good ships. What you gonna do? So he's sitting there looking like the fool, right? But he's like, I want everybody to get together and let's build 1,000 ships. And I want everybody working nonstop so we can, find them and kill them. And then, we just going to take over the world. Man, if you don't sit down somewhere with your incompetent self. So now you got to sit back and wait and build ships and all this stuff. I mean, think about how much time that's going to take for them to sit down and do that. By the time they get them ships that they building in the water, Theon them is going to be so far ahead of them. But I'm glad that they left. I'm glad they dipped out with the good ships. So there was just a short little part with Daenerys, Jorah, and Dario. And so while they're getting ready to go, Jorah tells her that he can't come with them. And he shows her his arm and reveals that he has grayscale. And you can tell it in her face that she is heartbroken about it. You know, at first, she was kind of going back and forth like, I banished you twice. You came back twice anyway, and you've helped save my life so many times. And so she's like, you can't come with me, but I can't really send you away. I don't really know what to do. Um, and it was a very touching moment because Jorah basically revealed himself to her. He tells her that he loves her. He tells her that all he wanted to do was to serve her and that, he loves her and he will always love her. You can tell it in Daenerys' face that she loves him too. Like in this weird way, they form this bond. Um, and she actually really trusted him. Like for real trusted him. And if he hadn't have been a snitch, he probably would have been her man, okay? But, so many things happened that got in the way of it. So as he's leaving and going away, she tells him, you know what? I'm going to tell you what I want you to do. You have to go find a cure for grayscale. And you have to get better. And you have to come back and serve me again. I don't know why, y'all, but I like them together. Even though he's older than her and, whatever, I think he really loves her. And I think she really loves him. But, their circumstances basically kind of messed up their situation. But she was very, very distraught just thinking that he was going to die. And it just showed how much compassion and love she had for him. And, Dario is just sitting there looking like, man, y'all just gonna talk like this in front of me? This is messed up. Get over it, okay? We all know that Daenerys is only using you to jump off, really. I mean, she's attracted to you and, y'all get down with the get down or whatever. You're an asset to her, but she don't love you. She loves Jorah. Now, back in Meereen, Daenerys' council once again are sitting around having a little conversation. And Tyrion says that, someone needs to speak on behalf of Daenerys and tell them that she is the reason why the Sons of the Harpy are basically inactive right now. Later on, we find out that there's a priestess who believes in the Lord of Light. They have become some of the people that a lot of the people really respect and listen to. So Tyrion and Varys meet with her and they talk to her about her being kind of the person who gets the people excited about Daenerys, and the conversation kind of goes left because Varys is somewhat skeptical about the whole religion of, the Lord of Light. And all while, Varys and this priestess is going back and forth, she starts dropping some info. And she starts getting to Varys because she starts talking about things that maybe she really shouldn't know about. For instance, okay, Varys is a eunuch, right? And so while she's talking to him, she says, do you remember, the sorcerer that, basically cut your genitalia off? You remember him? Okay, now do you remember what happened when he threw your parts in the fire? And he's looking like, how you know that? And she goes, you remember that you heard a voice coming out of the flame? And once again, he looking at her like, girl, because what she's saying is obviously true. And she told him, I can tell you who that voice was, who was talking to you in the flame. She kind of pulls back and she's like, yeah, you better recognize who I am. This is real, baby. I'm trying to let you know I'm about that life. Please don't come at me sideways because I got something for you. Okay, you might not want to fool with this one right here. Okay, because I'm gonna tell you some stuff, baby, that you don't even know that I know. Okay, check yourself. So, Varys kind of backs off and he's like, oh, I may not need to really fool with you, huh? So, in the end, I think that the priestess is going to be the spokesperson that they need her to be. So, let's talk about Bran and the three-eyed raven. hmm. Okay, let's just talk about it. Okay. So, once again, the three-eyed raven is taking Bran on these little trips back in time. And in this flashback, they're at the tree. And the tree is in full bloom and it's red and it's beautiful. And the girl that's one of the children of the forest, she's there. And all while, Brandon's thinking that this is just a nice little memory, of the tree and different little magical things that are going on. This is going to be nice and great and good. Yay! Bran watches this little children of the forest girl walk over to this man who was tied up to the tree. And she inserts this blade. It looks like the tip of a spear or something, right? She shoves it into his chest. And I'm thinking, girl, you just gonna kill him? What he do? You know? But no, y'all. She pushes this blade in this man's chest. And all while I'm thinking he's about to die, guess what? His eyes turn blue. She makes the first White Walker. I say she make the first White Walker. So Brandon's like, wait a minute. So y'all the ones who made these things? And the little children of the forest girl, she was like, yeah, we made them, but we made them in defense against the men, the humans, your race. And Brandon's just looking at her like, I didn't see that coming. Once again, y'all, I don't know if this was in the books or not. But once again, I haven't read any of the books. I started the first book, but then I just stopped myself because I didn't want to compare the book to the show. I want to watch the show for exactly what it is, all the way until the end, and then go back and read the book. Later on, Bran sees the three-eyed raven. His eyes were white, so he knew that, the raven was off somewhere. And so he wanted to know where the raven was. So he touches the roots of the tree and he goes, his eyes turn white and he goes where the three-eyed raven is. Now, normally, whenever Bran kind of steps into that world with the three-eyed raven, he sees the raven automatically. But in this particular case, when he goes there, he don't see him nowhere. All he sees is this whole huge army of White Walkers. So instantly, I'm nervous because I'm like, ooh, where he at? Why is he here? Where is the three-eyed raven? That's what I'm asking myself. Where is he? What is he doing? Like, what's the point of this? And all while he's looking around, he starts walking through these White Walkers, and none of the White Walkers notice him. They don't see him. It's just like a regular flashback, but this isn't really a flashback. It's more like present day type of a thing. That's just what it seemed like to me, right? So he gets past all these White Walkers and he's looking around, just kind of checking out everything. And he sees like the four generals. And I forget what the main White Walker, what his name is right now. It escapes me. Is he like the king of the White Walkers? I'm just gonna call him the White Walker King because I can't think of what his name is right now. And the King White Walker looks at him, y'all, and I'm thinking, Bran, get out of there. Nope, nope. He sees you, like he sees you, Bran. And then all of a sudden, all the rest of the White Walkers like turn and look, and they see Bran, and I'm like, oh, you need to get up out of here, like for real, like Bran, hey, hey, it's time to go. Like it's time for you to get up out. Like come on, it's time to dip, Bran. They see you, man. It's time to go, y'all. And then the next time he turn around, the King White Walker, he's like right there, and he reaches out and grabs Bran. And then Bran wakes up. And then the three-eyed raven, he wakes up too, right? And he immediately looks at Bran and he's like, he touched you, didn't he? And Bran was like, I don't really know what happened. I was just there. I'm what I'm saying? I'm trying to look for you. I don't know what really happened. And he was like, no, I know he touched you. Look at your arm. And so he has like this handprint on his arm. And then y'all, and then the three-eyed raven with a straight face looks dead in Bran's face. And he says, now they know where we are. Huh? What you mean now they know where we are? Like, y'all, it made me so mad. Excuse me, three-eyed raven. Can I just have a moment with three-eyed raven for just 1 second here? Why you didn't tell Bran that just in case we run up on some White Walkers in one of these little flashbacks or flash forwards or whatever kind of flashes y'all be doing, if we ever just happen to run up on some White Walkers, I'm gonna need for you to get up out of there. Like you need to dip, you need to leave, because especially if the King White Walker touches you, they gonna know where we at. Like, wait a minute. Why he didn't just tell him that from jump? Like, this is something that Bran needs to know. If we ever roll up on some White Walkers, okay, the best thing to do is to just dip out. He didn't think to tell Bran that. Like, you want Bran to know everything, but you didn't tell him that. That should have been the first thing you told him. Are you serious? So part of me feels like this is the three-eyed raven's fault. Now I know didn't nobody tell Bran to just fall up in there where he was. I understand that, I get it, whatever. But it's not like Bran hasn't done that before. And so he tells him, all right, now they know where we at. So I'm thinking, so what y'all about to do now? Like, come on. So Mira is there, right? And they're packing up, getting ready to leave. And she gets this uneasy feeling. So she walk outside. And when she go out there, y'all, it's the whole army of White Walkers. They just out there chilling. Just looking like, y'all ready? And that is when the Game of Thrones syndrome kicked in. Immediately in my mind, I envisioned everybody dying. I was so upset. Here we are, Bran and the Three-Eyed Raven. They're back in time watching. It seemed like it was Ned Stark and Ned's father. And Ned was getting ready to go somewhere. And his father told him, don't be out here fighting. But if you get into a fight, win the fight, And and it was just like, it was such a touching moment. The Raven was there, and they were just, in this moment. Hodor was there, when he was a little kid. And, they're just having this moment. And Mira is trying to wake Bran up, like, hey, wake up, wake up. And he could almost hear her a little bit in the background, but he wasn't really focusing on that. So let's just talk about it. Okay. The White Walkers rush in, okay? The little children of the forest, they build like this circle and around them, around the tree, and they light it on fire. And all of the normal White Walkers, they can't get past that fire. But of course, the generals, they breeze right on through it, right? Because, I'm sure they have more power than the rest of them. So, they can't get the three-eyed raven because he's literally in the roots of the tree. So Mira gets Bran, and he's still in Winterfell, with his eyes white. And, he's unresponsive. So she puts him on this carrier thing. And Hodor, Mira, some of the children of the forest, they get him, and they try, they're running to get out of there. So as they're trying to get away, Mira picks up this spear, and one of the generals comes in, and she throws it at him, and it hits him, and he explodes. Like, she kills one of them. So she's like, ah, wait a minute. So, her wheels are turning, that this type of a blade probably can kill them. You could just see the bells and whistles going off, but, she ain't really got time to sit there and dissect the situation because, come on, it's a whole gang of White Walkers up in here. So we got to get out. So the White Walker King, of course, he kills the three-eyed raven. Oh, and I forgot. Somehow, Bran knows that Hodor is afraid, and he's not moving, and he's not doing anything, like in present time where they are under the tree. And so, some type of way, Bran is able to look at Hodor when he was a kid and kind of make him work out. His eyes turned white, and it made Hodor in the present day get up and start helping. But anyway, they're running, and they're trying to get away. And the last little, children of the forest, she sacrifices herself so that she can slow some of the White Walkers down. And so now it's just Bran, Mira, and Hodor. And they make it out the back door, and Hodor is holding the door, and Bran and them tell him, hold the door. And so he's holding the door, and I'm just, and unfortunately, Hodor is holding the door, and the White Walkers basically kill him. I almost teared up. It was a very sad moment for me because Hodor, when he was young, you can see him. It almost looked like he was having a seizure. Like he fell on the ground, and he just kept saying, hold the door, because that's what he was trying to do in present time. He was trying to hold the door, and Bran is still, back in time in that vision, and he's watching as Hodor is going through that, and he's like, hold the door, and Hodor's mother is down on the ground, like with him, like, oh my goodness, what's happening to my baby? What's wrong with him? Why is he acting like this? And Bran, he already know what's going on. He's about to die. He's literally watching him about to die. So in present day, Hodor is holding the door. The White Walkers are breaking through. They're biting him, they're scratching him. And in my opinion, what I think happened was you seen young Willis having a seizure, essentially dying right then and there. His last words as a kid now is Hodor. So it was almost like the past him and the present him kind of met somewhere in the middle. And he went from a fully functioning young man to this adult who could only speak one word, and the White Walkers, I'm assuming, killed him. And the episode ended just like that. Anything good that had happened in the whole episode kind of went down the drain, and I was left with this Game of Thrones syndrome feeling. Hodor is gone. Ain't nobody out there with Bran but Mira. Bran did not get to learn everything that he needed to know. So, what is Bran supposed to do? He only knows a little bit. And now the three-eyed raven is gone. Nobody can teach him anything. So they just out there running, and it's only two of them. Her and him. I'm I'm not happy. I don't know what's gonna happen. I was very hopeful for the type of training that the three-eyed raven was gonna give Bran, but now it's gone. And I'm not happy about it at all. I don't have any predictions about what's going to happen with Bran because I literally don't know. This show, he might die. Who knows? I mean, listen, we all know in this show, if your last name is Stark, you don't have no luck. I mean, your luck is bad luck. So I don't know what's going to happen, y'all. So I'm sorry if this video just went from, decent to bad attitude or whatever because I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy. I'm not with it. I'm not okay. Y'all got me messed up. Game of Thrones, don't do this to me, please. Oh my goodness. So anyway, that was the episode, and hopefully next week, Brandon will live. Y'all, I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, that was the episode. I will see y'all next week for the next episode of Game of Thrones.